So this is something that has honestly been out there for quite some time now. I mean, it's been like, Mike Flanagan for the longest time has been saying in interviews that he wants to do a Clayface movie. And for the past year, year and a half, maybe 2 years, it's been actually credibly rumored that he was officially writing this Clayface movie for DC Studios. And so it was like a week or two ago now that we got more updates on the project, which is what you're seeing right here, that the script has been written and completed by Mike Flanagan. They're aiming to shoot spring 2025, all that good stuff. And now today, Variety is officially reporting that this Clayface movie is officially underway at DC Studios with Mike Flanagan writing. And so the big thing with this especially is, there's rumors going around right now that maybe James Gunn has canceled some DCU projects that were announced in that original slate. But he's made it very clear that they're not going to officially greenlight any projects until they have a script they're happy with. That's why, yes, we're getting a Batman the Brave and the Bold movie. Yes, we're getting a Swamp Thing movie and all that good stuff. And talent is hired for that, like James Mangold writing and directing Swamp Thing and Andy Muschietti directing Brave and the Bold. But those projects really haven't been officially greenlit because there's no official script yet. That's also why they haven't cast certain roles and things like that. And so looking at things like this, where Clayface has now been officially greenlit as a project, a script is turned in, they're happy with it, this is now likely going to be our third project in the DCU, if it's in the DCU. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're getting Superman next year. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is shooting early next year in 2025 with a 2026 release date. And Clayface is looking to shoot in 2025 as well and will likely be the next release from DC Studios. But of course, there's a lot of caveats with this, because a lot of people look at this as DC Studios is developing a Clayface movie, okay, it has to be in the DCU. And it very well may be, because obviously DC Studios is launching the DC Cinematic Universe, or the DCU, whatever you want to call it. It just launched with Creature Commandos, we have Superman coming up, all these other projects. But the thing with DC Studios is DC Studios is technically producing all DC projects. So this could be part of the DCU, or it could be Elseworlds. Now, if it is part of the DCU, when it comes specifically to casting, Alan Tudyk has been cast as the voice of Clayface in Creature Commandos, which of course is this kickoff project to the DCU. So we know Clayface is in the DCU, so it would make sense if they're going to do a Clayface movie, it would be connected to that, for sure. But looking at this specifically, if hypothetically this is a DCU Clayface movie, does that mean Alan Tudyk is playing Clayface in live action? No. Because according to the rumors about this project, when it comes to casting for Clayface, it's being said that they're actually looking for an actor in their 20s to play a younger version of Basil Carlo, who would be the Clayface in this film. So it wouldn't be Alan Tudyk. I'm not sure if that means, again, if it's set in the DCU, would it be an origin story? Would it not be taking place in present day? Or James Gunn has also mentioned that a lot of smaller characters in Creature Commandos have been cast with voice actors that have not been specifically picked to also play those characters in live action. So it could be that maybe Alan Tudyk is also the present day live action Clayface, blah, 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 whatever the case may be, but we're getting a in their 20s Basil Carlo Clayface in this Clayface film. Now, like I said, this could also be connected to the Batman. This could be an Elseworlds type project, because DC Studios, again, is developing all DC projects. You know, the Penguin, obviously a spin-off from the Batman, was not part of the DCU but you still have the DC Studios logo on it. Just how other projects, like I just watched the other day, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, which, by the way, guys, go watch that on Max. One of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It was so good. But that has the DC Studios logo on it. Is it part of the DCU? No. But it's produced by the studio. Just like how the Batman Part 2 will be a DC Studios film while not part of the DCU. And it has been said for a while now, officially reported by the trades, that Clayface will be a part of the Batman Part 2. So is he either going to be the main villain of the Batman Part 2, or at least have some sort of small role in the film, potentially the size of like what the Penguin had in the Batman Part 1, and then it's going to spin off into his own origin movie or a movie taking place after the Batman Part 2, kind of similar to what they did with the Penguin, just in a movie rather than a series like they did with Penguin. Also going back to years ago when, again, reported by the trades, this is something so many people have forgotten about, but I did a video on it, that the trades reported that Matt Reeves was developing a Clayface movie, a Scarecrow movie, and a Professor Pig movie as part of his Batman universe. Now, there's been no updates on the other projects, but obviously we've been hearing a lot about Clayface, and so this could be still that project. There's no word officially if Matt Reeves is involved with this version in this iteration, but this could potentially be a lot of Clayface. If this is DC Studios Clayface set in the DCU, then that would be one Clayface. But then if we're also getting Clayface in the Batman Part 2, then that's just a lot of kind of contradictions. You want to go even further if they do this just Joker style and have it set in its completely own universe, but then you also have Clayface in the DCU through Creature Commandos and Clayface in whatever capacity of a role he has in the Batman Part 2. That could get kind of confusing, so I feel like it is going to be semi-condensed, and it is looking like Clayface will be in the Batman Part 2. So I think that honestly is where this will be connected to. Now, obviously, I don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of what I think it's going to be. And that excites me because Matt Reeves, I trust him with these characters, especially after the Penguin. But it also slightly concerns me because then it's just like, you know, Matt Reeves wants to keep everything grounded in his universe. But with Mike Flanagan being on board, that's what gives me hope. Now, I haven't seen anything actually directed or written by Mike Flanagan, but everything I've read about his work seems like it, and everybody says it would fit so well with a character like Clayface and his backstory, the sort of body horror with that, I think will be really fascinating to see on display. And I feel like with what's being said, they will go with the monstrous giant clay version of the character, which again could lean more towards the DC Studios version because we've already seen that's the version they're going with in Creature Commandos, so the DCU version of Clayface. But then maybe they're going to go grounded Golden Age Clayface, where he's just a serial killer and he wears a clay mask and he's good at disguises and all that stuff, like potentially they're going with in Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. But who knows? There's a lot of potential here. Clayface is just such a great character, and I'm so excited we're finally going to get him in live action, potentially in multiple projects here now. That's something I'm very much looking forward to see. And Mike Flanagan writing this movie I think is great. I assume he's probably going to also direct it as well. I know he's working on the new Exorcist movie the next couple of years, so we'll see. But again, this movie is going to be shooting next year, will be one of our next projects from DC, potentially even releasing maybe just slightly after the Batman Part 2. That's another thing that maybe makes me think, is it not connected to the Batman Part 2? Because this could technically maybe come out the same year as the Batman Part 2 or just a year later. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities with this. There's a lot of questions surrounding this project. But now that the project's been officially greenlit, the script is complete from Mike Flanagan, this gets me really excited because people Clayface is coming. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this news? Mike Flanagan has written a Clayface film, and DC Studios is set to produce. Do you think this is part of the DCU? Do you think it's Elseworlds? Or do you think it is connected to the Batman universe? So thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.